Do you want to discover more joy, peace, and freedom with food exercising your body? Here we bring a compassionate, holistic, and sustainable approach to fitness so you can fully enjoy the life you want and express your unique self with the world. I'm Michelle Roscoe, and I want to help you find fitness freedom. I'm so glad you're here. I am so excited to share this last episode of 2024 with you, this year's biggest lesson in books. I got so excited, I prematurely hit the record button, but here I am, I'm back in it. I like to read because I like information. Do you like to read? I like to watch my entertainment and read my education or listen to my education. So I like softcover, hardcover, audiobooks. I love them all because books shape your mind. They are the most wonderful opportunities for you to learn someone else's biggest lessons. They can be someone's life absorbed in a few hours, and they're either free or inexpensive most of the time. And I'm pretty proud of my books. If I were to show you my Audible library or you were to see my bookcase, I would happily show you them with pride and a grin because my books are an expression of my interests, my growth, my lessons, my strengths. How do you feel about books? A lot of the friends that I have love reading. Most of them are into, or a lot of my friends are into nonfiction or fiction. A few of them are into nonfiction. When I say reading, I pretty much mean nonfiction. I don't, like I said, I like to watch my entertainment. And believe me, I do like to be entertained. I love my reality TV shows, my sitcoms, my binge-worthy shows. I'm not all about reading, but when I read, I like to learn. So a few years ago, I wanted to keep track of my books because I didn't want to just read and forget what I was reading. So I started a spreadsheet. It's called Learning Map. And I write down what date I started the book, what date I finished it, if I finish it, the title, the purpose for starting it, the key lessons I learned in the book, the key actions to implement, how I can use it to help others, and then any personal notes. Because I didn't want to just finish a book without applying it and just do it to say I read it. That wasn't the point of reading a book. Just kind of like going to a country isn't the point of going to a country. You want to actually experience it and enjoy it and learn about it. So I created these different categories, these different columns. And I have it from 2022. I was looking back at my learning map. I started tracking things in 2022. I read or listened to 38 books in 2022. I started about 50, but I didn't finish all of them. 2023 was 37, and this year was smaller at 21. I don't force myself to finish a book if I realize the author's values don't align with mine, or maybe it turns out that some of the things that they teach are sleazy or unethical or maybe just not right for me at the time, and I don't force myself to finish things. And some take long, like some books, like they're not meant to be read book cover to cover. They're meant to like be picked up and read here and there. So those take longer to absorb. And then some of them you just like whip through because you want to absorb and like eat all the information. I personally usually have like half a dozen books open at the same time. So I'll pick one up. I'll be like, what am I in the mood for? I'm driving. I'm going to listen to this one, or I'm going to go for a walk and listen to this one. So I have a mixture of books and podcasts and things that I like to learn. It's how you grow. So I love to learn. So the purpose of me sharing this is, I mean, selfishly, I'm having a little bit of a look back on my year and what has shaped me and how I've grown through the books that I've read, rather than just giving you a list of, 10 biggest lessons I learned in 2024, whatever. But I'm also wanting to share because these books, maybe one will pique your interest, and you might be looking for exactly one of the books that I'm sharing with you in this episode. So if one piques your interest, maybe you could put it on your wish list, or you could start immediately if it's something you really want to read. And something that has helped me with picking books, I used to pick up books because I felt like I should read it. Like, oh, this is something I should know more about. I should read it. And now I just, if I have that feeling come up, it's an automatic no for me. I have actually been in bookstores where I'll like be overwhelmed and I close my eyes and I'm like, I just ask my heart or whatever bigger power to just lead me to the right book. And I open my eyes and there's something right in front of me that I had missed that just like is an immediate yes in my heart. So go with your yes. I don't think that you should listen to any book or read any book or including any of these that you don't really want, especially if it's not a part of your job or structured education, right? This is all not forced reading. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about why I picked the book, that little that urge, yes, to pick it up. I'm going to share with you the biggest lessons I learned from the book. And so if you would like to learn more of those lessons, of course, I'm not going to go into the whole book. I'm just going to share some highlights and then you can go and listen to them. And I'm going to share a little bit how it affected me personally. And because I do have that how to use it to help others or key actions to implement as a part of my reading. So yeah, here we go. We're going to go back to the beginning of 2024, almost a year from now. And by the way, I plan to take a break in January. So you'll probably be listening to this in January or even further on. This is about a year ago that I picked up this book, Rest is Resistance. Oh, so I follow this coach called Simone Soul. She's pretty cool. She's a business and marketing coach and just a cool human. And she recommended this book about rest. And so I took her opinion seriously. I downloaded it before my vacation, my sabbatical last year, almost 12 months ago. And I listened to it on the plane, on trains around Japan and Korea and airplanes. And the biggest lesson I learned is how rest is our right. It's not for the purpose of productivity, but it's something that we need and is inherently human. Not for the purpose of anything else, but its own reason to rest. And how important daydreaming is, and how important deliberate ease is, how we don't always need to be in a rush or distracted by social media, and how it is essential to rest, especially if you're busy, especially if you are a part of those who are marginalized. The author Tricia Hersey is a Black woman who grew up in church and saw her own father die at a young age because of how little he rested and how he pushed himself and didn't have the rest that was essential to him. And it's a statement against a capitalistic, oppressive culture. So it is beautiful, especially if you find it hard to rest. Right now, I preach rest, and I know how important rest is. It's a part of the 4-H method, and this book really helped me put and incorporate rest into the 4-H method, which the ability to just be is foundational for everything good. Because there is no worth tied to anything that you're doing. Your worth is completely in who you are. It's not tied to what you do or what you produce or any measure of outward success. And that really helped me understand that. Especially if you find it difficult to rest and you know you need more of it in your life, this book will be really inspirational because as much as I preach it now, as I was saying before, I have historically, not until the last couple of years, have I rested as much as I do now. And I was always on the go. I was always about more. My sleep is horrible. I always felt the need to be doing something, and I've really let that go, and this book helped. So here's a quote. I'm going to end most of these book summaries with a quote. Our drive and obsession to always be in a state of productivity leads us to the path of exhaustion, guilt, and shame. We falsely believe we are not doing enough and that we must always be guiding our lives toward more labor. The distinction that must be repeated as many times as necessary is this: we are not resting to be productive. We are resting simply because it is our divine right to do so. All right. It's hard because I wanted to include so many books, because I do have 20 something books that I finished and I enjoyed, and some I haven't even finished, but I'm still enjoying them. The next one I want to share is Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison. She's an eating disorder informed dietitian. I've been following her for a while. I used to listen to her podcast. And Anti-Diet, so good. It talks about the history of dieting, how health is systemic and not individual, how harmful weight stigma is to our health rather than just the weight. She gives so much good research based facts, so she's really good. Something I appreciate about her. She's not just giving her own opinion. She does a lot of research behind her books, and she works with people who have eating disorders or who've suffered from chronic dieting. So she's in the trenches. She knows what she's talking about. She sees it in her day-to-day life. She talks about the dangers and impossibilities of weight loss, like how weight loss can be dangerous, how diets lead to disordered eating, and how there is so much misinformation even around healthy food. And reading this book, listening to these facts really helped reaffirm what I already knew to be true, but it gave me more clarity and, I guess, research and facts to back what I knew to be true around how harmful dieting can be, how it doesn't really work long term, how bad weight loss stigma is, and how harmful shame is to our health. And it helped me, it encouraged me to remove weight loss as a focus in my fitness and health coaching and leading, whatever. And it did give me more empathy for those who struggle. I've never been severely in a big body. I've never been what people might call obese. I haven't dealt with that. So this gave me a little bit more understanding. And I'm going to give you a big quote, but a really relevant one that sums up exactly what this book encapsulates. And I highly recommend it for everyone, especially if you've done any dieting or if you feel like you struggle with food in your body. She says, your health isn't entirely within your control either, despite what diet culture wants you to think. Health isn't something you can wrestle into submission by sheer force. Certain circumstances beyond our control, genetics, socioeconomic status, experiences of stigma, environmental exposures can affect our outcomes, our health outcomes. We can't permanently change our body size through food intake and exercise the way we've been told we can. And the same is true of our health, which of course is not dependent on body size. That is, even if everyone ate the exact same things and moved their bodies in the exact same ways, we'd all still have different health outcomes because of genetic differences, experiences of poverty and discrimination, and even deprivation that our mothers experienced during pregnancy. Many things contribute to health, meaning it's not all down to personal responsibility the way diet culture wants us to believe, not by a long shot. Mic drop. Thank you, Christy Harrison. And if you would like a little bit more direction in that regard around like what is within our control, what is not, please go to my masterclass, What You Really Need to Know to Enjoy Fitness for Life. I go into the 5 C's and what's important to know if you want to enjoy fitness for life and not make it all about weight loss or shaping your body. So go check that out. It's for free. You can get it immediately once you enter your details. The next book, I think I was looking for a book to run with. I was training for a half marathon this summer with my girlfriend, and sometimes I would go on runs, and I think I just wanted something to listen to on a run. So I found this book, Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. And this book, I really liked hearing her voice speaking it. She speaks with a lot of heart. And her voice sounds almost like saccharine, like it's almost not real, but I do believe that she's genuine. If you listen to it, you know what I mean. She showed me in this book how worthiness is essential for growth and how believing in your dreams needs to start with knowing your worthiness. And she gives stories throughout her life and ways that she's dealt with things. She's the founder. I don't know all the details, so don't quote me on this, but she's a rich woman because she made a cool makeup company for different skin types and really emphasizes beauty at different sizes with different skin tones and all different kinds of bodies. Okay? That's basically what her mission was. She wanted women and girls to feel like they were worthy and to have makeup products that weren't all about fixing yourself. So yeah, she was really inspiring, especially the business part that I deal with, like the struggles and the no's, the rejections, the wondering if you are doing it right. And she talks about how self-acceptance and digging into your why are so powerful. And to hear someone go through really low lows and still believe in their dreams and go through on the other side and even meet Oprah, like that's pretty cool. And it also reinforced how I value worthiness, how Emma Roscoe Fitness, my business, uses worthiness. It's the foundation for everything in health. Because without it, you can't change. And like she says, I'm going to read a quote and it encapsulates it perfectly. She says, "You don't become what you want. You can have the greatest heart desire and really work so hard, so hard, so hard. But if you don't believe you are worthy, it will not come." That is the magic formula. So that's a little teaser for you. You can do all the right things. You can on the outside, but if you don't really believe you're worthy of having good things, if you don't believe you are already worthy, then it's not going to stick. And again, that's the foundation of the 4-H method. So join if you want to. I wanted, actually, while I was reading this book or listening to this book in my car, I listened to it a lot on commutes. I really wanted her to do the 4-H method. I was like, this is so aligned with your values. Come do the 4-H method. I think I probably talked back to her and the speaker, even though she didn't hear. Another book, Louder Than Hunger by John Shu. I liked that this is from, I don't usually listen to male authors on purpose. I prefer listening to female authors just because if you know, you know. I don't have to go into that, but it was pretty cool. There's someone that I worked with that I was training in group fitness, and I told her that I work with people in eating disorder recovery, and she mentioned a family member had dealt with an eating disorder, and she had read a book, and she recommended it to me, and the next time I saw her, she had it in her hand. I appreciate this person so much. So I read it, and it was a quick read. It's the kind of read, I'm glad she told me this, it's the kind of read that you could just sit down in an afternoon and go through. It's kid-friendly, youth-friendly, but it's basically a fictionalized story of both autobiographical, of a boy in eating disorder recovery, and he's in a treatment center. And it really helped me remember how mean those voices are, because I've been through it and I've experienced it, but I've grown a lot since then and recovered a lot since then, so I forget sometimes what those voices sound like. But they put you down, they go against your worth, they tell you you can't take up space, and they are so mean. And if you listen to them, they will destroy you and your body and your mind. That's why recovery is so important. If you have struggled with an eating disorder, or you feel like you might be, or maybe you want to give it as a gift to someone else, it's a beautiful, easy read. It also shows you how connections are what heal, and that is so important. It's true. We need people. We need relationships. We don't grow in a vacuum. Connections are essential to healing, which is why I've really emphasized in my work, like community and the 4-H method. We have regular meetings, we talk, and you're not just following a course. You're actually being able to interact with real humans, and I think that's so important. And I think after I read it, of course, I cried a lot reading the book, and ultimately it reassured me I'm doing the work I'm meant to be doing, and I love what I'm doing. A simple quote from that book: "It's okay now because I know better who I am, and I understand who I am is okay." All right, we're going from Louder Than Hunger to Embodiment and the Treatment of Eating Disorders by Catherine Cook Cotton, or Cotton, I'm not sure how she pronounces it. She is a therapist who specializes in eating disorders. Oh, this book was so beautiful. embodiment is what she talks about. Embodiment is about living in your body. That's the best way I can describe it, and having your body as your guide and your resource. So living in your body rather than against it. And with eating disorders, and not just eating disorders, but disordered eating and disordered exercise. And really, I want to name it as a part of our regular culture. There's so much emphasis on our body as an object. How does it look? How does it please you? And I'm just going to go on a little tangent. I've been on Reddit a little bit more recently. Like, I have my little apps that I look at when I want to kind of zone out or look at things out on social media. And some of this stuff that comes up is so gross. Like, men, what do you think of this woman? How does she look? Or why do men not like women who look like blah, blah, blah? It's just so gross and objectifying. And this is not something that is often called out in these cultures. This is something that is so normalized. You see it in movies, you see it in everywhere, especially social media. There's this premise that our bodies exist for the pleasure or displeasure of someone else, and someone else can judge our bodies based on how it looks. And yes, in culture, when we do get that approval, sometimes that feels good, but it's false. When you have to fit in to be accepted, it's not belonging. It's not real connection. Belonging requires you to be your full self. And it's just gross. Like, sexism, patriarchy, it's just gross. But again, it's a sidebar, but it's also not. This is part of the issues that we face in this culture. Just like Christy Harrison says, it's not just an individual thing, it's a systemic thing. But this book is beautiful, and she goes through different types of eating disorders and how they affect people, and how you can use embodiment and practicing being in your body. Whether you work with people in eating disorders or you want to learn more for yourself, it gives you like great meditations and journal prompts, and especially, I think it's designed for professionals who work with people in eating disorder recovery, but it could be helpful for you if you know someone or you want to have a better understanding of embodiment and living in your body. And it was pretty cool because when I was reading it, I realized that so much of what I teach in the 4-H method is based on embodiment. I just didn't have a name for it, and I didn't know that that's what it was called. But I've learned a lot from that book, and the 4-H method is stronger because of it. Okay, we got a couple more. 3 more. 4 more. Okay. Next one, back to money. Or did we talk about money yet? No, I don't think I've given you a money one yet. Ooh, okay. So I love learning about money. Like money, fitness, business, health, all that, and like self-growth. Those are like my things if you haven't been able to tell. But I'll go into a money one. I had listened to other ones, at least 2, maybe 2, 3. But I'm going to share this one with you. Rich as Fuck by Amanda Frances. So I'm always skeptical, so don't think that like I'm a super gullible person who just like goes in. Maybe I am. Actually, maybe I am. I don't know. You have to decide for yourself. Trust yourself. I was skeptical about whether I should download this book or not. But I just said, why not? So I started listening. It's basically this ultra wealthy woman with staggering income. Like, she talks about how she makes 6-figure days. Like, come on. Like, it sounds almost unbelievable, but if I look at other sources, like, I don't think she's lying. So staggering income, she talks about how she does it. And really what I think is helpful is not just hearing what she says, but it was helpful to hear how she speaks. She has this really clear, non-shaming way of operating in the world. Like, she just believes she can have these things, and she sets these standards for herself, and she keeps practicing until it happens. Like, she's doing her own thing. And there's a real sense of not being bothered by other people's energy that I really admire and appreciate learning from her. Sometimes it's not just the information in the book, but the essence and the quality of the people who are teaching the information that is more valuable. Of course, I've done a lot of manifestation reading and learning about how to create what you want. And it's pretty cool because I've seen it happen in my life in different ways. And I'm still learning a lot of lessons, of course, but it did reinforce some ideas around how to grow and how to get what you ask for, and also just inspired me. A quote from this book is, "I practiced a little every day and missed plenty of days and wondered many times whether it was working at all, but I kept practicing, I kept going." And I've talked about worthiness and how that's the foundation for health, and rest is how we practice worthiness, and that's in the 4-H method. But it doesn't stop there. You have to practice. You have to put it into your life. Like, you can't just have these great ideas. You have to apply it. And that's where it becomes a little scary, and that's where you start to see challenges. But if you can stick with it, you will see the results. So all of these books and all of the information that you hear, of course it's wonderful to hear it, and your soul knows when something is true because it feels like freedom. But you have to practice it in your life, and you have to get better at it, and that's where you really grow, not just in the hearing it or knowing it, but in the doing it. And that's why in the 4-H method, we start with hope, which is I'm already worthy and powerful just as I am. Like, I deserve every good thing and I'm powerful to create it. That's the premise. But we don't just stop there. We put it into practice, and we meet ourselves where we are with food, with movement, with our bodies. And we put these simple habits into practice, and with practicing and awareness comes transformation. And I've seen it for people who actually put in the work. There's no way you can't grow when you're not practicing. But you have to start not with the practice, but with the foundational beliefs. So basically, I really love the 4-H method. If you want to grow in your fitness and health from the inside out and make a strong foundation that lasts, and find freedom in your body with food and exercise, like, come fucking do the 4-H method. Okay. I'm going to go to a business one, and then I'm going to go to a weird spiritual one, and then I'm going to finish with one of the most recent money books that I've listened to. So 10X is easier than 2X. I went on a NEDA walk, a National Eating Disorder Association walk in Milwaukee, and there's a cool bookstore there. It's like these huge walls. It's like a labyrinth of books, and one of the books I saw that kind of stood out to me is this book by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy, 10X is easier than 2X. And this is, of course, I was like, two guys, do I want to listen to it? I looked through it. I was like, yeah, okay, I want this. I waited a while, and then when the time was right, I picked it up. It's about how exponential growth is easier than small growth, and better. So how we sometimes, like, we do the minuscule, like, little bits of growth, or we don't set huge goals for ourselves, so we don't grow huge. But this book encourages you to make really big commitments on what you really, really want, and get honest with what you want, and focus on only that thing, and drop everything that's not it, which is hard for us to do. We want to do everything really well, but sometimes you need to focus on one thing at a time in order to be successful in that, and then you create a new thing. And this helps give me clarity on the big dreams I want to accomplish in the world. And when you can be clear on what you want, and I'm not saying that I'm always so clear on my ideas and I don't have doubts, and like, that's not true at all. But when you have big dreams that you want to accomplish and you get really clear on what those are, it's easier for you to know where to say yes and where to say no to things that come up, like opportunities or big decisions in your life. And a lot of the decisions I've made in the last few months have come as a result of reading this book, because I got really clear on what I want in the world and what I want to do in the world and with my business and with my work. And because of that, it was easier for me to say no to things that were taking my energy away from what I really want. The quote from Dan Sullivan, who's a co-author of this book, is, "The only way to make your present better is by making your future bigger." All right, next one. Oh, my girlfriend's coworker at the time suggested this little coffee shop where they had good cinnamon rolls, but it was a little town away from Madison. So we drove there one morning, and they had this little, like, spiritual bookstore or spiritual store as we were walking around after we enjoyed our cinnamon rolls. And I saw this book. And I have a special connection this year with dragons. I got a dragon tattoo on my leg. It's so cool. Last minute in Thailand, I've made a podcast episode about using dragon energy. It's the year of the dragon, and I was born in the year of the dragon. So I just kind of had an interest in dragons, and I thought, this is weird. How to Live with Dragons. You can actually talk with dragons? What? By Carolyn Mitchell. And I like this book a lot. This is one of the books I haven't finished because it's like you pick it up and you read it and then you put it down and practice it. It's not like a read cover to cover book. But I've learned that dragons are ancient and they are pretty good no BS guides. And if you're like, what are you talking about, Michelle? You're freaking me out. I am definitely spiritual from picking up signs. I forgot, by Lynn Lauber, I think. Her name starts with Lynn. That was when I first realized that we can connect with guides, ancestors, spirits, guardian angels, whatever. There's different kinds. I learned from Sonia Choquette how to do that. And honestly, it's been one of the best discoveries of my life. I grew up in a religious home and like praying. I prayed a lot and like Holy Spirit and that stuff. And I know it can be OCD and I know how it feels when it doesn't feel healthy or it feels like obsessive. So I'm cautious of that. I am cautious of that, especially because I know I have anxious tendencies, but it has been so beautiful and it's really connected me and helped me be more embodied. Yeah, so definitely spiritual. I've had so many powerful, clear, mighty messages. They're not for this episode, but I have gotten so many clear, like it fills my soul. And yeah, working with dragons is pretty cool. And a few weeks after, or a little bit after this book, when I started talking with dragons, I guess you could say, I found a dragon shirt, a red dragon, which is the first dragon I met, and it's my favorite shirt at the moment. Okay, we're not finished with a little bit of woo-woo. If I'm freaking you out, that's okay. It's all right. You'll be all right. The last book, and I just finished recently. I started reading it or listening to it the second time, but I ran out of time on my Spotify, is Love Money, Money Loves You. And back to money again. This is by Sarah McCrum. And this is maybe one of the best money books I've listened to, I would say. The Soul of Money. And there's a couple other ones, but this one is up there. Basically, it shows you how money is working with you based on specific laws of the universe. All that your requests are heard and they are done, and they will happen in your life if they're not interfered with. Money is all about value exchange on this earth. So you receive what you are willing to receive and what you are willing to give. And she really emphasizes how money is about enjoyment and happiness. And you get it when you focus on a vision that fulfills a deep desire you have for the world. And this has helped me make clearer requests about what I want for money and focus more on service and seeing that as a way to receive money. And it's a win-win for everyone. And I'll just share a short quote from this book. From money, this is basically a message from money to us. And the opening line is, I want you to love me. Okay, so I can see, maybe you can hear as you're listening to this, kind of a through line of desires and dreams and rest and worthiness and how it relates to our bodies and even eating disorders and our health. And I have gotten more clear in this year. Like, I think this year has been a lot about inner work for me and discovering more clearly what I really want to do in the world. And I'm doing it. I'm moving towards it. I want people to experience the 4-H method and transform from a place of worthiness, knowing their own power, really, so that they can go enjoy their lives and do what they're meant to do on this earth. Maybe not meant to in a way of like it's predetermined, but like what they most want to do and enjoy their lives and not have to worry about food or exercise, and use fitness as a way to live the life that they want as a tool, just like you use any other tool to improve your life. But it's not the end all be all. And you can really have freedom in your life from this place of I'm already worthy, I'm already enough. And life becomes so exciting from that place. And if you would like more of that, if you would like to know more of your worth and more of your power and how to practically apply it and practice it, because we're not just about nice words and messages. It's like you have to practice it if you really want the transformation. Like practice it deeply if you're ready for that. And if you want that, come join the 4-H method. That's my dream. That's my dream. So many good heroes in the 4-H method working all around the world, connected. And I already do have amazing heroes, and I'm so grateful to them. And I know you're out there, so come join us. I encourage you to do this for yourself. Like if you do like reading and you learn some lessons, you kind of want to see what this year was all about. Maybe you can do it through your books. Pick some of the highlights, and maybe for you, an easier to do is to just pick one of these books for yourself. Which one stood out to you? Maybe a few you could add to your wish list. Maybe something draws you in. Use your gut, your heart as an easy yes or no for what you might need to be hearing next. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, I am going to take a break from the podcast. I don't know how long it will be. Maybe I'll come back in February. Maybe it'll be March. But like last year, I'm taking a little bit of a break. I'm going to rest, and I will talk to you when I get back. Please, 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 if you want to read one of these books, let me know. You can message me on Instagram or email me. If there's something that you learned from your books this year, if you want to do a list like this and then share it with me, I would absolutely love to hear it so we can have a little back and forth. You can, again, message me or email me, and have a wonderful new year. Happy 2025. It's the year of the snake. I'm not sure what that means, but I hope it's a good one for you. Hey, you reached the end of this episode. Thank you so much for your time and energy listening to this. I appreciate it so much. If you would be so kind and generous as to leave a positive review for this podcast, it would mean so much to the growth of this so that more people can benefit from it. And even more, it would mean even more if you shared this personally with someone who you think would be able to benefit from this, who would appreciate and enjoy it. Please do that. Always feel free to reach out to me with questions or comments, michelle@mlroscoe.com, or you can find me on Instagram at michelle.lynn.roscoe. Always happy to hear from you. And if you're ready to commit, to take action, to making your healthiest life from a place of already enough, join the 4-H method. Make your body your home, your health, your hero journey. The link is in the show notes. Like you, love you, Coach Michelle.